You ever get that gut feeling that something's off, but you can't quite put your finger on it? Like your brain's trying to whisper, hey, pay attention, but you just shrug it off because you don't want to sound paranoid? That was me 6 months ago. I lived alone in this small apartment just outside Denver. Nothing fancy. One bedroom, a tiny balcony, the kind of place where you can hear your upstairs neighbor sneeze through the ceiling. I worked remotely doing marketing, which basically means I sat at my desk all day pretending to look busy while scrolling through social media. My life was quiet, predictable, maybe a little too predictable. Every morning I woke up at 7 sharp, made coffee, scrolled through emails, went for a jog around 8, came back, showered, started work at 9. Lunch was always around 1, usually a sandwich from the same deli across the street. By 6 I was done. Then it was dinner, Netflix, maybe a glass of wine, bed by 11. Rinse and repeat. I liked the routine, it made me feel safe, in control. But I guess when someone's watching, that same routine becomes the easiest thing to exploit. It started with little stuff. I'd come back from a jog and notice my doormat was slightly crooked, or my trash can, which I always kept on the right side of my porch, would be on the left. Small things. Things I could easily blame on wind or memory. But then one morning, I saw this old white sedan parked across the street. Engine off. Windows tinted. It was there again the next day and the next. Always around the same time I left for my jog. I remember thinking, maybe it's just a neighbor, maybe I'm overthinking. But that car, it never moved until after I was gone. I tried ignoring it, but you can only ignore that heavy feeling of being watched for so long. Around that time, weird stuff started happening. I got a call one night from an unknown number. I answered, and it was just silence. Not static, just someone breathing. I hung up, blocked it, didn't think much of it. But then it happened again the next night. Same number, same silence. Then packages started showing up at my door. No return labels, just plain brown boxes. The first one had a bag of my favorite coffee beans inside, the exact brand I ordered online every month. I thought maybe a mix-up. But then another box came with vitamins, the same ones I had just run out of. Whoever was sending these knew me. I told my best friend, Jess, and she laughed it off, said it was probably targeted marketing or some glitch in the system. But deep down, I knew this wasn't random. Someone was watching. They knew my habits, my schedule, the tiny details of my day-to-day life. One evening, after my usual jog, I came home and found something under my door. It was a folded piece of paper, no envelope. My heart dropped when I read it. You ran 2.3 miles today. You look tired. Rest up. I froze. I didn't even remember saying how far I ran to anyone. The handwriting was neat, almost too neat. I felt this wave of panic, that kind of deep, shaking fear that makes your stomach twist. I called the cops, but they didn't take it seriously. They said unless there's a direct threat or evidence someone's trying to harm me, there's not much they could do. Probably just a prank, the officer said. Yeah, okay. Some prank. I changed my routine after that. Started jogging earlier around 6:30. Ordered groceries instead of going out. I even parked my car on the opposite side of the building just to throw off whoever was watching. But it didn't help. A few days later, I got a DM from a random Instagram account. No profile picture, no posts, just a message that said, "Don't hide from me. You're perfect just the way you are." I blocked the account immediately, reported it, locked all my profiles. I even taped over my laptop camera. But I couldn't sleep that night. Every noise outside made me jump. The next morning, I saw that same white sedan again. This time parked closer, like directly across from my window. I pulled the curtain just a little and saw someone sitting inside. I couldn't see the face clearly, but I swear whoever it was turned their head toward me, like they knew I was watching. That's when I bought a cheap webcam and pointed it toward my hallway, facing my door. I figured if he ever tried something, I'd have proof. For a few nights, nothing happened. I started to think maybe he'd moved on. Maybe it was all in my head. Then, one night around 3 in the morning, I woke up to a soft tapping sound, like knuckles against wood. My heart started racing. I grabbed my phone, tiptoed to the door, looked through the peephole. Nobody there. Just the empty hallway, dimly lit by that flickering fluorescent bulb. I didn't open the door. I just stood there, frozen. After maybe 30 seconds, the tapping stopped. The next morning, I checked the webcam footage. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped the laptop. At 3:07 a.m., a man appeared in the frame. He wasn't knocking. He was just standing there, staring at my door, holding his phone up like he was recording something. He stood there for almost a full minute before turning and walking away. I paused the footage, zoomed in, and my blood went cold. I recognized him. He was the quiet guy from the cafe I went to every Thursday, the one who always sat near the window, headphones on, never talking to anyone. I remembered chatting with him once, maybe twice. He'd mentioned he lived nearby. Guess he meant real nearby. I called the police again and showed them the video. This time, they took it seriously. But all they could do was file a report and increase patrols around my area. Not exactly comforting. So I came up with a plan. The next morning, I pretended to go for my usual jog. But instead of heading out, I hid behind my car in the parking lot with my phone recording. 10 minutes later, like clockwork, I saw him. Same hoodie, same old sedan. He walked right up to my door, pulled a small key from his pocket, and tried to unlock it. That's when I shouted, "Hey!" I screamed his name. I remembered it from the cafe. He froze, eyes wide like a deer in headlights. Neighbors came out, one started recording, and I kept yelling until he dropped the key and ran. The cops caught him that afternoon, hiding out at a motel 2 miles away. Turns out he'd worked at the gym I used to go to months before. He'd seen my address on a membership form, memorized my routine, followed me home one day. He had copies of my social media pictures, notes about what time I left for work, what brand of coffee I bought, even screenshots of my jogging routes. The detective said he'd been watching me for at least 6 weeks. I moved out a week later, changed my number, deleted old accounts, started fresh in another city. I thought I was fine for a while, but sometimes when I wake up at 7, still out of habit, I look out my window and swear I see a white car parked across the street. Engine off, windows tinted, just waiting. When I bought my first house last year, I thought I finally had my life together. Small place, 2 bedrooms, quiet street outside of Denver. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. And after years of renting apartments with paper-thin walls and weird neighbors, I wanted peace and privacy. The first thing I decided to do was get one of those fancy smart home security systems, doorbell camera, motion sensors, the works. My mom always said, "You live alone. You need eyes on your doors." So I hired this local guy from an ad on Facebook Marketplace. His name was Tyler. Mid-30s maybe, baseball cap, scruffy beard, way too chatty. He showed up with a toolbox and a smile like we'd known each other for years. "Man, this is a nice spot," he said as he looked around. "You live here by yourself?" I kind of laughed and said, "Yeah, just me." He nodded, maybe a little too slowly, and said, "Lucky. Nobody to nag you, huh?" I brushed it off, offered him water, tried to make small talk. He started asking all these weirdly specific questions, like what time I usually leave for work, when I sleep, if I had friends who visit often. He said it was to calibrate motion zones, but something about it felt off. Still, I didn't want to be rude. He installed the doorbell cam, synced it to my phone, showed me how the app worked. Everything seemed fine. He even said he'd set up a backup cloud account in case I lost access. At the time, that sounded helpful. Now, I wish I'd told him to mind his damn business. The first few nights were normal. The doorbell app would ping whenever a car drove by or a cat walked across the porch. Then around midnight one night, I got an alert, motion detected. I checked my phone. Nothing. Just my empty porch. No sound, no figure, just the light flickering a little. I figured maybe a spider crawled on the lens. Then the next night, same thing. Another alert, this time around 2 a.m. Still nothing on the feed. But when I looked closer, the camera angle seemed different. It was tilted slightly upward, like someone had adjusted it. I told myself I probably bumped it earlier when I brought in groceries. But deep down, it bugged me. A week later, things got weirder. Every time I opened the app, I'd hear this faint clicking sound, like a mic turning on. Sometimes I'd even catch a whisper, just static, but it felt too human to be a glitch. One morning, I checked the settings and noticed something I didn't remember adding. Another device connected under the label admin_02. I tried removing it, but it wouldn't let me. The app said insufficient permissions. That's when it hit me, Tyler. He must have still had access to the system. I texted him, trying to play it cool. Hey man, could you remove your admin account from my setup? Just want to keep it private. No response. I tried calling straight to voicemail. That night I couldn't sleep. Around 1 a.m., I got another notification. Person detected. My stomach dropped. I opened the live feed. At first I didn't see anyone, just darkness and the porch light buzzing. Then I noticed a faint shadow near the edge of the frame, like someone was standing just off camera. I turned up the volume and swear I heard breathing. Then, barely audible, a whisper, "You home?" I froze. I didn't move for a good minute, just staring at that screen. Then the feed suddenly cut out. When I checked again, the video was gone, deleted. The app said file not found. The next morning, I called the security company directly. I told them I wanted to speak to the tech who installed my system. The lady on the phone checked her computer and said, "Sir, we don't have a Tyler working for us." I told her he came with their logo shirt, the van, everything. She paused and said, "That employee quit 2 weeks ago. We've been trying to recover client data he accessed." My mouth went dry. So he could still see my cameras? She sighed, like she didn't want to answer. It's possible. I spent the rest of the day tearing through the house like a maniac. I covered my laptop camera, unplugged the Wi-Fi, even taped over the doorbell lens. Then I started searching for other hidden cameras, because now I was convinced this dude had done more. And sure enough, when I looked up at the smoke detector in my bedroom, I noticed a tiny black that wasn't supposed to be there. I climbed on a chair, popped the cover, and nearly dropped it when I saw a micro camera hidden inside. I felt sick. I checked the rest of the house, found another one behind the TV vent and one tucked inside the hallway light fixture. He'd been watching me. For how long, I don't know. I took photos, called the cops, showed them everything. They came, looked around, wrote a report and said they'd look into it. But unless they caught him in the act, there wasn't much they could do. So I decided to make my own plan. That weekend, I pretended to leave town. I parked my car a block away, left the lights off and stayed inside, quiet. Around 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. A motion alert from the doorbell. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it. I opened the live feed and there he was. Tyler. Same baseball cap, same scruffy beard, standing on my porch with a small flashlight and a screwdriver. He kept glancing around, then crouched down and started unscrewing the doorbell camera. I hit record on my phone and dialed 911 while whispering to the dispatcher. The operator told me to stay hidden and stay quiet. But something in me snapped. I'd had enough. I flung open the door and shouted, "What the hell are you doing?" He jumped back, dropped his tools, eyes wide like he didn't expect me there. "Whoa, man. I'm just doing maintenance," he stammered. "Maintenance at 2 in the damn morning?" I yelled. "You think I'm stupid?" He bolted for the street, but the flashing red and blue lights were already turning the corner. The cops tackled him before he made it to his van. They found hard drives in his backpack, filled with footage from other people's houses. Dozens of homes, bathrooms, bedrooms, living rooms. He'd been installing hidden cameras during routine visits for months. When they took his statement, he said something that still makes my skin crawl. "I just liked watching people live their lives," he told the officer. He had such a predictable schedule. It was comforting. He was talking about me. After that night, I ripped every smart device out of my house. No doorbell cameras, no smart speakers, no motion sensors. Just locks, curtains, and my own 2 eyes. The company offered to replace everything for free, but I told them to shove it. I didn't even want their name near my house again. It's been almost a year now, and I've moved on, mostly. But every time my phone buzzes with a notification sound, even just a random app, I freeze for a split second. That little chime used to mean safety, awareness, control. Now it just reminds me how easily someone can turn your sense of security into their personal show. Sometimes, late at night, when the street's quiet and the wind's moving the trees just right, I swear I hear that same doorbell chime in my head. And for a second, I feel like he's still out there, watching, waiting for the next house, the next routine. You ever get that one text that just makes your stomach drop? Like, out of nowhere, your phone lights up and for some reason, your brain immediately knows something's wrong? That's how it started for me. Just a single message. That's a cute blue hoodie. That's it. I remember it because I looked down and realized I was literally wearing my favorite blue hoodie at that moment. I was sitting in my dorm room, eating leftover Chinese takeout, scrolling TikTok, just minding my business. No one else was there. My roommate had moved out last semester, and I decided to stay alone off campus because, I liked my space. So when that text came in, I laughed a little. I thought maybe it was my friend Jess messing with me. I replied, "Haha, thanks. Who's this?" No answer. Whatever. Probably spam. But then the next night, another text. "You should have gone with the red one." I was getting ready for my night class, holding up a red hoodie in the mirror. That time I froze. I didn't have my window open, and my blinds were closed. I walked over, peeked through the slats, but the courtyard outside was empty. No movement, no sound. I told myself it had to be a coincidence. Maybe someone from class saw me earlier. Maybe it was Jess again. I texted back, "Very funny. You're creeping me out." Again, no reply. Just that little bubble showing the message was delivered. Over the next few days, more messages started coming. Always random, always personal. "You look tired today. Don't stay up too late. You make your coffee too sweet." It was like someone had a front row seat to my life. I tried to be logical about it. Maybe my number got leaked, maybe it was some AI spam thing. But these texts weren't generic. They mentioned things I hadn't told anyone. One morning, I got, "That scar on your hand's healing nice." I hadn't posted about that. I'd burned my hand cooking last week and hadn't shown it to anyone. By then, I started getting paranoid. I checked every window, made sure the doors were locked, even covered my webcam with tape. But the texts kept coming. One night around 11 p.m., I was watching a movie. Lights dimmed, curtains closed, when I got another one. "You left your window unlocked." My heart just dropped. I ran to check, and sure enough, the small kitchen window, one I never touch, was cracked open. Just a sliver, but enough to make me shake. I slammed it shut and locked it, then sat on the couch, staring at my phone like it was about to explode. I texted back, "Who the hell is this?" No reply, just a typing bubble for a second, then nothing. I told my coworker at the coffee shop about it the next day. He joked that I had a secret admirer, but the way he said it made my skin crawl, like he didn't get how serious this felt. My boss, Mia, said maybe I should just block the number or change my phone. I tried blocking it. Didn't work. I'd block one number, and a new one would start texting the next day. Same style, same tone. Always watching. After a week, I noticed something weird. The texts would always come not long after I posted something on Instagram or Snapchat. Like, if I posted a story of my drink, I'd get "Matcha again? You're so predictable." So I stopped posting. For 3 days, I went completely silent online. No stories, no location tags, no updates. But the messages didn't stop. They changed. "Why'd you stop posting? You don't have to hide from me. I still see you." That's when I realized it wasn't just social media. Whoever this was, they were close. I started sleeping with a light on. My classes became background noise because all I could think about was checking my phone. I even told campus security, but they said since there were no direct threats, they couldn't do much. One night, I was FaceTiming Jess, and I told her I was thinking about staying with her for a few days. She was like, "Yeah, of course." But before I could even finish the sentence, another text came in, "You're not going anywhere." My blood went cold. I didn't even tell Jess what it said. I just ended the call and sat there, shaking. The next few days were hell. Every little sound freaked me out. The creak of the pipes, footsteps in the hallway, Even my phone buzzing made me jump. I started keeping a kitchen knife next to my bed, just in case. Then one night, I got the worst one yet. I was brushing my teeth, lights on, phone sitting on the counter. Ping. You look better without the lights on. Before I could even react, everything went dark. Power out. My heart started racing so fast I could barely breathe. I grabbed my phone flashlight and backed into the corner. I called 911, whispering to the operator, telling her someone was outside. She said to stay quiet and wait for officers to arrive. While I was on the phone, I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, right outside my hallway. The sound of floorboards creaking one by one. I wanted to scream, but my throat locked up. I crouched inside my closet, shut the door, and just listened. Then, another text came in. My phone lit up the dark room, bright enough to see the message. I can hear you breathing. I turned off the screen immediately, trying not to move. The operator kept talking quietly in my ear, saying officers were 2 minutes away. Those 2 minutes felt like an eternity. Then I heard knocking, 3 short knocks on the front door. Not pounding, just calm, almost polite. Then silence. I didn't move until I heard the faint echo of sirens outside. The cops came in, searched the place, found nothing inside. But when they checked outside, they found footprints under my kitchen window. Big ones, fresh. And under the porch, hidden behind a loose panel, was a small camping blanket, some energy bars, and a pair of binoculars. He'd been living there, watching me, for weeks. When they brought the guy out in handcuffs, I didn't recognize him at first. He was one of our regulars at the coffee shop, a quiet man in his 40s who always ordered black coffee, never talked much. The detective told me later he'd taken my number off a crumpled receipt I threw out, looked up my socials, and started following me. He'd even found a way to clone my phone signal to track when I was home or away. I felt disgusting, violated. I moved out within a week, got a new phone, new number, new everything. For a while, I couldn't even look at my phone without feeling sick. Every vibration made me jump. But slowly, I started feeling normal again. I told myself it was over, that I was safe. But about a month later, I got a new number and was setting up my contacts again when a text came through. No name, no thread history. Just one line. You can't hide forever. I deleted it immediately, threw my phone across the room, and sat there shaking. Maybe it was just spam. Maybe it wasn't him. But ever since then, I keep my blinds shut tight, my location off, and my phone on silent. Because now I know something I wish I didn't. Sometimes, when you think no one's watching, that's exactly when someone is. You ever get that gut feeling that someone's watching you, and you try to laugh it off, but it sticks anyway? That's how it started for me. I'm a single mom, 35, working nights at a little diner off Highway 9. It's not fancy, but it pays the bills. My son Caleb's 8, and we live in this small apartment complex on the edge of town. The kind with flickering lights, one working elevator, and neighbors who keep to themselves. Most nights I get off around midnight. The streets are quiet, the air's heavy, and all I want to do is crawl into bed. But lately, when I pull into our lot, there's this dark sedan sitting under the far light. Engine running, tinted windows, never moves till I go inside. First time I noticed it, I figured maybe someone was just waiting on a friend or scrolling on their phone. But it started happening every night. Same car, same spot. I told myself I was imagining it, but after the 4th night in a row, I couldn't shake the feeling that whoever was in there wasn't just hanging out. One night, as I was walking up the stairs with Caleb half asleep on my shoulder, I saw the glow of a cigarette inside that sedan. Just a tiny red dot, barely visible, but enough to make my heart skip. I hurried inside, locked the door, double-checked the chain. I peeked through the blinds, but by then the car was gone. I tried telling myself it was fine, that I was just being jumpy. Working nights can mess with your head. But a few mornings later, I found a small folded note tucked under my windshield wiper. It said, "You work too hard." I just froze there staring at it.
No signature. No anduriting irrecognisa.
I looked around the parking lot, nobody there. That night at work, I told my coworker Denise, and she laughed, said maybe I had a secret admirer. But something about that note didn't feel flirty. It felt personal, like whoever wrote it knew me. A couple nights later, I found another one. Cute kid. That one made my stomach drop. I never talked about Caleb at work, and he doesn't go to the diner. That meant someone was watching us outside of work. At home, I remember looking around that empty parking lot, the cold air biting my neck, and I just knew I wasn't safe. I told the building manager, this old guy named Frank, who mostly cared about rent being on time. He said he'd keep an eye out. I also called the police, but since there was no direct threat, they said there wasn't much they could do. I bought a cheap dashcam off Amazon and installed it myself. Felt dumb doing it, like I was overreacting, but deep down I knew something wasn't right. A few days later, I checked the footage, and there it was. Around 2 a.m., that same sedan pulled in, parked behind my car, lights off. You could see a man step out, walk around my car slowly, then lean against it for a minute before leaving. His face wasn't clear, but I could tell from the shape and the way he moved. He was tall, heavy coat, probably late 30s or 40s. The next week was pure anxiety. I'd get home, sit in my car for a second, scanning the lot before I even unbuckled. Every little noise outside made my chest tighten. One night I came home, and the sedan was parked directly behind my spot. Not off to the side anymore. Right behind me, engine off. I pretended not to notice, grabbed Caleb's backpack, kept my keys ready. As I walked toward our building, I heard a door click open behind me. I didn't turn around. I just walked faster. Caleb whispered, "Mom, what's wrong?" And I just said, "Nothing, baby. Go inside." Once we were in the apartment, I locked every door and turned off the lights. I looked through the peephole and saw him, standing by my car, hands in his pockets, just staring at my door. I stood there shaking, too scared to even call 911. After what felt like forever, he walked back to his car and drove off. The next morning, I checked my dashcam footage again. This time, I saw him clear as day. It was a customer from the diner. He always sat in my section, always ordered black coffee and a slice of pie, maybe twice a week. Never said much, always left big tips. I never even knew his name. But now, watching that video of him circling my car, whispering something, I realized he'd said my name. Emily. My blood went cold. He knew where I lived. I brought the footage to the police. They said they'd do extra patrols and asked me to call if I saw him again. That wasn't good enough. So I called my friend Marcus, who's a cop in the next town over. He told me to call him next time I saw that car. 2 nights later, I did. It was almost 1 in the morning when I pulled into the lot and saw the sedan waiting again, this time with its lights off. I texted Marcus my location and told him to stay out of sight. I sat there pretending to scroll on my phone while my heart pounded like crazy. The guy got out of his car again, wearing gloves this time, looking around like he was making sure no one else was out. He started walking toward my building, same slow steps as before. Marcus pulled up out of nowhere, lights flashing. The guy froze for a split second, then turned like he was going to run, but another cop car blocked him in. They tackled him right there in the parking lot. I sat in my car shaking, watching it all through the windshield. When the officers searched his car, they found a knife, rope, a pair of binoculars, and a notebook with my schedule written out, what time I left for work, when I got home, even what nights Caleb stayed with my sister. He'd been living out of his car for almost a month, following us home every night after his shifts at the diner. The cops said he told them he just wanted to protect me, that he thought I needed someone watching out for me. They charged him with stalking and harassment. I didn't even go to the hearing. I just wanted to move on. I moved apartments 2 weeks later, new complex, new locks, cameras everywhere. I even changed jobs, switched to a bakery that opens early mornings instead of nights. For a while, I felt okay again. But sometimes, when I pull into my new driveway late at night, I still hesitate before turning off the engine. I'll sit there and listen, waiting to hear that soft hum of an idling car nearby. And every now and then, I swear I do hear it. Once, I even caught a glimpse of a dark sedan parked across the street. No license plate I could see, windows tinted too dark. I told myself it was coincidence. It had to be. But then I found a note tucked under my wiper again. No words this time, just a smiley face drawn in black ink. I keep that note locked in a drawer. The police said they can't do much unless he shows up again. But I know what I felt that night. I've learned that sometimes monsters don't hide under your bed. Sometimes they sit quietly in the parking lot, watching, waiting, and convincing themselves they're the good guys.